The one I was thinking about this morning that I told you I was thinking about, I was just watching SportsCenter. Like, I don't know how to word it, though. I'd like to talk or get into sports, but more focused on, like, the big names in sports and how their opinions or their...
Like a Colin Kaepernick thing, or?
Kind of, but not. Like, I was watching an interview this morning, for instance, with Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And he was throwing out opinions about shit, and they were talking about, you heard about this Nipsey Hussle guy that got killed. So I'm just, like, sparked my memory. I'm like...
Turn your mic a little bit so it's, like, straight up on you.
It just made me think, like, why... SportsCenter is just another news outlet at this point. But,
right.
You know, whether it's social media, whatever, like, we take the word of guys like LeBron and these big sports names like it's...
They can say whatever.
Written word of Christ or something. You know what I mean? Like, their opinion formulates the opinion of so many people. So I'm just curious what... We have these uneducated... Not all of them, but we have uneducated... famous people, and it's not just sports figures. I guess we could just talk about anything, like the Kardashians, whatever, that because of their fame, their opinion formulates the opinion of so many of their followers. Why are these the guys that we're listening to in the direction this country's heading based off of
what we listen to?
Famous people who have very little understanding of what's going on in the world. And instead of, you know, scientists or people that actually understand social economics and the world as a whole.
Just stay on it, because like I lose you. Turn it, even tilt it, but like usually when I talk I get like really right up on it. Yeah. Like you can sit back more.
See,
but
here's the problem though. I keep doing that. All right, I'm good.
And you can tilt it this way too. The key is just to like your pitch, but then you know, if you know you're going to be louder, step back, but at the same time then come forward if you're going to say something. You see how like you can hear that in the microphone.
So like normal speaking voice, I'm good right here, but yeah, if I'm
so it's just
get loud, I got you.
Now just give me some little bit of normal vocal.
How's this sounding for you there, Scuba?
See, like you're a little low there.
Low tone, low
that's
volume.
When you're up on it, you're perfect. But like, I can't have you step back to the microphone like this, because then you're going to sound weak in the audio. Where Sean and I would be right up on it.
I gotcha.
So that's why you got to get used to like leaning into the microphone. That's why, like I say, I hunch all the time. Like right now, I'm just hunched into the mic.
Well, that's why I think that table down there will help me here, because as opposed to like, all right, so I feel like I'm either doing this or I got to really get under the table and
that's
back.
Why. So I have. Now that I have 3 cameras, I have the TV downstairs. I just ordered the other chair because I've been using my spend money, so I have to wait till next month to order the other chair. My wife won't let me. Which is fine. I got the desk chair in there I could use.
That should be a topic, finances in marriage.
Yeah, finances in marriage. I like it. That's a good one.
Because we both have similar perspectives, but because we don't actually make decisions.
You could even do a finance and marriage with you, me, and Alex and Kate.
Oh, God. Dude, last time all 4 of us were together and talked about that, what happened?
I'm telling you, just get a little booze in them.
Kate was crying. Alex wanted to fight me.
That's true. It just turned into a fight.
Well, yeah, it was at that OAR concert. The worst possible time and the worst possible place to try and talk about all that bullshit.
I wanted to kill her.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, I got diets, finance, and marriage. But, yeah, I'm going to...
Don't even put sports figures for that one. Just put how does your... Like, something with how does your level of fame earns you the right to have opinions on pretty much anything.
So let's just say famous opinions.
Okay, I like that. Well, yeah, that's good, too, because then we could actually look at...
Well, dude, you could segue into so much stuff. You got the president. You got, anything that has to do with social media.
You could talk about specific voiced opinions of famous people that have really led to not so good outcomes.
Exactly. Yeah, you could anything that's a a platform where you're a person. The crazy thing is, you ever hear about this Mark Sargent guy?
Mm-mm.
It's some jabroni who fell off the bandwagon with this flat Earth thing, and now he's famous. Like, he started a podcast with some random lady.
So he was a flat earther.
He still is a flat earther, but he started watching flat earther documentaries, right? And he just fell off the bandwagon and said, I'm blowing this thing up. And he's now, like, famous, especially beyond, like, flat earthers. Like, he's, like, a huge icon for them. And he basically just started a lot of social media stuff with it.
He's not the guy that's building his own rocket and shit, is it?
No, but at least not that I know of. But he is, he started the social media platform, but, like, there's a documentary right now on Netflix, which is Flat Earth, but it really has nothing to do with the Flat Earth idea. It has everything to do with this Mark Sargent guy, and I was so pissed I watched the documentary because I thought it was actually going to be about why people think the Earth's flat, and they briefly talked on it, but didn't have anything to back up their facts, and the end of the documentary was like their test to say that the Earth was flat didn't work, and then the documentary ended. Like, it was so stupid. It was the dumbest documentary I ever watched. I was really disappointed I took the time to watch it, but it was annoying. My point is like, you could include something like that because that guy is now famous.
I think it's great that we live in a world where you can believe whatever you want, but I think we also have to be careful when we call it a belief. Like,
to what expense?
Like, you can't. This isn't a belief. This is, all right. I'm trying to think. Like, all right, there's people that spend a lot of time and spend a lot of money on, like, you ever heard of the steampunk stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they get into the steampunk. Like, there's no...
Steampunk's an art, though, isn't it?
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
Like,
they
make these elaborate
yeah.
outfits. I had a guy come in at Fastenal one time, and he was buying these brass nuts and screws and all this stuff because he was building this steampunk outfit. And, like, I started talking to him about... Meanwhile, Lenny's back in the office. You remember Timonium. You could, like, hear what's going on out there. He comes out. He's like,
what?
I went to high school with that guy. He's like, he is the weirdest dude. And I was like, I was just interested in this steampunk nonsense. I said, I didn't realize it was a thing. And he was showing me pictures. Like, it's a full-on elaborate, like, thousands of dollars he's invested into this outfit. And I'm like, so what do you do? He's like, well, you know, we go to these shows or events, and we just show off our gear. And that's what I think of when I think of, like, Flat Earth Society. Like,
I do, too.
It's a cool group to be a part of. It's something it's interesting to speculate on, but let's be honest. There's no way somebody in that group with half a brain honestly thinks that the Earth's flat.
Exactly.
100%. It gives them something to belong to. It gives them something to be recognized for. It's somewhat controversial, even though nobody's confused that it's not accurate.
When you can just see all the stuff from not telescopes, but satellites and stuff and all that jazz, it's like there's so much evidence to say it's round.
Also,
you know,
if the Earth isn't round, if you've ever been in an airplane, if the Earth isn't round and it's not rotating, which is part of their thing too, right?
Yeah, the speed that it takes to get to California faster than coming back.
If I fly to see my family in Arizona, it takes going out, because you're going against the rotation of the Earth, or with it, it takes longer. It's like 5.5 hours. Coming back's almost a full hour shorter because you're going against the rotation, so it's a little quicker. Plus, you know, the wind, jet stream, whatever you want to call it, does have an impact too, but you can't argue that. There's no way.
No, I agree.
Anyway,
I 100%
that's
agree.
just we could analyze. Flat Earth is a great example, but I'm sure there's other nonsensical societies or groups out there. Like, I mean, hell,
let's put Flat Earth down as a topic. You know, I mean, we could do some research on Flat Earth and say, okay, Flat Earth, blah blah blah. So far I got diets, finance, and marriage, famous opinions, say famous persons. Opinions. Flat Earth. All right, there's 4 pretty good ones.
I mean, I feel like you and me at some point, just because it's a topic of conversation anyway, have to get into some form of religious talk.
Oh, I'm all about that. That's so.
But
that's what I was trying
to do it that broad would be a mistake. That would never end.
Well,
but we could tell you what, you could do it just religion, not specific to Christianity or whatever. Just the idea of organized religion and being in a church or whatever you want to call it.
And I know what you're saying there, because
the social aspect of religion.
It was
in the you and me talk about it all the time, but there's such
we could go on a tangent.
The hypocrisy level is just ridiculous.
But yeah, I was talking to telling you how I started reading the Bible, and I'm reading it from beginning to end because you know how a lot of people are really good at twisting Bible verses to meet their agenda or meet their opinion. They manipulate it, right?
Every religion, well, this is my opinion, but every religion in the world is based off the same basic principles / idea, and then you get Christianity, Catholicism, whatever. Then they all branch off into their own because everybody wants to interpret it to fit their personal needs and their lifestyle, so that they're not the ones that are going to hell. It's everyone else.
And and that's my point, and I made this point to my parents. There are over, I want to say, and I Googled this, I could be wrong, but I want to say it was 30,000 or 300,000 different Christian denominations, just Christian, that call themselves quote-unquote Christian. And I'm like, so if there's all these different denominations, at the end of the day, I won't deny the fact that I believe in salvation. I'll never take that away. But whether you think you should be allowed to drink or not drink, swear or not swear, that's something that's not discussed. And you know, I've been going to church. I don't mind going to church, and I don't mind reading the Bible. I like reading the Bible. But my point is do you know what we learn in Christian school as a kid? What we learned in Sunday school? And I understand we got the PG-13 version. But something that blew my mind. Do you know what the first thing that Noah did when he got off the ark that we never learned?
Probably got laid.
He built a vineyard and got shit-faced.
I went the wrong way with that.
Yeah, the wrong way. He made a vineyard, made wine, got drunk. It's the first thing he did. First thing he did. So it's like, okay,
but then we go to a church where you're going straight to hell if you take anything in your body that alters
your mind. Here's the thing, and I have a hard time with this. And I know that there's things in the New Testament that basically goes back and regates, whatever that word is, goes against what the Old Testament says. But people like to say that there's certain things said to certain people. You know what I mean? And it all comes down to that sin of saying, oh, you can't drink booze. It's not good for you. I'm like, okay, well, do you eat sugar? Yes. Sugar's way worse for you than booze. Obviously in moderation. But if you get the point. You get type 2 diabetes, obesity, you know, it leads to anxiety, other things. Sugar, terrible. It kills your bone mass density. But they're like, oh, no, that's fine. It's like, well, your body's a temple. Sugar does change it alters your mind. Hate to tell you. You ever get hangry? That's a sugar crave right there. First thing you go for is some sugar. So tell me I'm wrong. But my point is people look at that as like, it's like, oh, it's like speeding. I download illegal shit. I download illegal movies. I jailbroke my Fire Sticks, and people are like, dude, you shouldn't do that. That's bad. And I'm like, did you go over the speed limit today on your way to work? They're like, well, yeah. It's like, oh, but you didn't think that was a problem.
Well, that dude,
you know what I mean?
You're
cherry picking,
dude. That's just it. But dude, oh my God, there's endless. examples of people refusing or being so anti-something that doesn't make sense because, all right, so people that refuse to hunt because they don't agree with killing animals, well, are you a vegan? Because if not, the burger or the chicken or the pork that you just ate last week or yesterday for lunch, that animal died way worse than the animal that somebody shot with their bow and arrow or their gun for.
And that's another big thing with like conservation is if we didn't regulate the Pennsylvania deer population, I would love if we just shut it down for like say 10 years and hear all these people who were pro non-hunting, non-killing of animals and just see how many times they pelt a deer with a car. They lose their mind. Dude, the whole reason there's a conspiracy behind why we brought the eastern coyote back, and it's because of it, what they did is they took a coyote and breeded it with a wolf to make it that much smarter and that much more of a keen hunter that it could smell out its prey and stuff. Because the hunting tactics of a wolf compared to a coyote, I mean, a wolf is just so far superior. So they breeded them, supposedly, allegedly. And they're saying a lot of this was backed by insurance companies to kill more deer so there would be less accidents. I don't know. That's a big conspiracy, but I'm just saying.
At the same time, though, it makes perfect sense. I mean, anything crazy that happens like that, somebody somewhere that has a shit ton of money or is making a shit ton of money is geared and driven to do that for some reason. Like,
absolutely.
Insurance companies have how much money in this world? I mean, that's a whole other thing we could talk about. It's just the huge corporations. Like, that's one thing that always blows my mind is when you find a big company and figure out what else they own. Like the whole, what was the Dick Cheney? Halliburton. And how
have you seen the movie Vice?
No. What all they were tied into and all that shit. Like, once you realize whose pockets these people are padding,
their stakeholders,
and who the decision makers are that are tied to these companies, it explains so much about why the politics go the way they do in this country, why CEOs and whoever else are making the decisions they're making. Obviously, they're making money off of it, but it's also padding the pockets of their investors or their...
And that's why I go back to the NASCAR thing where these people should have to promote or flat out have a way to say who their sponsors are. You know, the way you would a sports team, the way you would...
Just wear a jacket.
Yeah, seriously. And that's that Robin Williams bit was just, you know, a NASCAR driver has his stuff plastered all over the side of the car who sponsors him. It's all over his coat when he gets out of the car, you know.
Yep.
A football team, an NFL, a golfer, you know. He's wearing his logos. But when it comes to politicians, it's like under the table. And it's like, you're the front runner for the country of everything that shouldn't be shady. And you're the most shady person, but it's okay for you.
Mm-hmm.
Blows my mind. Blows my mind. Nothing happens.
One, I love when they focus on a politician who 5 years ago said that they were solidly standing for this, and this is what the premise that they're running off of, and then 5 years later, it's completely contradictory to what they believed 5 years ago, and they say, well, I've learned and I've grown, and I'm like, no, I'd like to see who your money was coming from 5 years ago and who your money is coming from now, because guaranteed that's why your decision changed, not because of your personal beliefs.
Well,
it's all about who's funding you and also who your demographic is that you're going after.
The only thing I say about that is you got. I don't disagree that people change their minds. I've changed my mind on things. You know, as I educate myself more and do more research and learn more and hear other people's opinions, instead of just being so one-sided. So I used to listen to Republican political radio.
Sounds awful.
It was at the time, though, I was all about it. I'm like, yeah, like these guys know it. But then when you realize is when you start listening to the other side's view, you're like, okay, I get that. Whereas people just ignorantly shut it down without even talking about it. Like, if you watch these presidential debates, they're not even debates. It's just one guy shutting the other guy down and constantly interrupting him. is stupid. It's not a debate. That's not how debate goes. But that's exactly what I'm saying. How I've changed my views is like, okay, I was so pro my way. The only things I would listen to would be, a conservative style view. And then I'm like,
but if that's all you're listening to,
exactly,
how are you going to formulate an educated opinion if you don't know the other side of it?
And that's kind of my thing with like abortion. I'm pro-abortion to a point. Like, it's, in my opinion, it's just debatable where it's okay to do and not to. Like, as far as along in the cycle,
raped and you wind up pregnant from that, and you decide that you don't want to keep that baby, fine. But you've got a very small window to find that out, to get that figured out, and to make that decision. This whole Virginia freaking nonsense with
that's a little far
post-birth or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they legit have the governor saying, like, well, yeah, if that's the scenario, we would birth the baby. If it died upon
keep the baby comfortable
being born, then they would all right. So a baby that you're potentially and most likely going to wind up terminating anyway, they would resuscitate and keep it alive until a decision's made between the mother and the provider.
Which is just awful.
Which, all right, there's a conversation not being had, which, once again, most of my information came from the Joe Rogan podcast about this, but there's a lot of money involved with the organs and the type of stuff that you can take.
Well, just stem cell research alone.
Right. Unbelievable. Yeah. Anytime, dude, there's always going to be shady shit going on if there's a lot of money involved.
And that's the hard stance that I take on it because of Christianity. But here's the thing where I think a lot of Christians get lost in this is the United States is not the Israelites. The United States are not Hebrews. We are not God's chosen people. Okay? Regardless of what I believe ethically.
How are we all not God's chosen people, though, if we were all created in His image? That's one thing I never understood about that.
Yeah, I asked the same question, but there's literally a clear-cut line after the Tower of Babel in the Babylonians where he's like, "You're my people." But my point to that is we don't live in we don't live in Israel. So God gave people the freedom of choice. And I believe that as much as I believe in freedom, period. So that's why, like, Second Amendment, like, I'm not saying that freedom of choice doesn't come with a consequence. Like, if I wanted to murder somebody, which I don't, but I'm just saying, like, that comes with a consequence. And that's an extreme point, so let's just drop that. But I'm just saying, like, because the government deemed it legal, and because people find it necessary to have abortion,